Hello, everybody. It's Footy Prime again for you on Thursday. I'm Sharms. We've got Jimmy Brennan here beside me. We've got Jeff Cole. It's a short crew today. Not short, actually. We're quite tall. We average around 6 feet, I think, give or take. But Craig's not here, and Wonga might join later on. Dubs is returning from vacation. She returns to the show very soon, probably tomorrow, actually. So that's exciting for everyone to elevate the quality of this podcast. But today, though, I thought we'd get to a little look back on the conversation on Monday about Canada. A lot of feedback, Jimmy, a lot of feedback from our listeners, our viewers, some pro, some anti. Basically, we discussed the fact that perhaps Canada isn't actually the kings of Concacaf. Perhaps they never were kings of Concacaf. And it certainly stirred some emotions, shall we say. So, we're pretty open-minded people, I think. We can look at both sides of the story, the narrative in this case, but let's listen to some viewers and listeners, shall we, and see what they have to say. Luso says, I agree we were never kings of CONCACAF. A lot of people got overly excited during our 2022 World Cup qualifications, and Soccer Canada stated too early on their website, we need a World Cup statement or CONCACAF silverware to enter that tier of greatness. Is it easy, Jimmy, to dismiss the World Cup qualifying campaign for the last World Cup? As far as at the time, Canada was, I guess you could say, kings of CONCACAF. They finished first in the group. They were unbeaten. We know the famous victories against some of our biggest rivals. Is it fair enough to say that we perhaps did overreact, although at that point in time, we were?
Well, I think it was a great moment for Canada. You know, one of the best for us to get to a World Cup, finish top of the group. It was a massive achievement. But I think at the end of the day, when you want to be kings of something, you have to have silverware. You have to have the trophies. And obviously, Mexico winning the Gold Cup, you know, they really are the kings of CONCACAF at the moment, aren't they? It's all about winning, Sharms. It's all about trophies, silverware. That's what you play the game for, and then that's what gives you the title as a champion, is winning.
Yeah, I agree with you. Now, some would argue though but they did win the World Cup qualifying campaign. They won that, but that doesn't come with silverware. That's just qualification. Mexico still qualified. The States still qualified, and they both were not even close to what they are now, I would argue. Maybe the States, perhaps they've got some other stuff going on there, although they look much better at the Gold Cup. But Mexico were in that transitional stage, and we saw in this last Gold Cup, and even before then, the Nations League, Mexico returning to at least a semblance of what they once were, right? So that being said, it's okay to be kings of CONCACAF, right? If your rivals aren't where they should be, that's not, for example, Canada's problem. You just take advantage of it, right, at the time.
You do. Of course you do. You have to take advantage of situations. And I think where Mexico is right now, I mean, watching them throughout that Gold Cup, they were fantastic. They're a good side. They're back to their old ways for me. I just think they've got good balance all across all the pitch. And the way that they play, their movements, they can mix it up, be aggressive. They can play great football. They're all-rounded. That's what this Mexican team is at the moment. They're all-rounded. They can change into any formation, any style. And they rightly so deserve to win CONCACAF.
When did that bloody term start? I kind of hate it. Kings of CONCACAF. Was it the media? Was it Canada Soccer, as alluded to by the last poster? Was it? I think John Herman used it a couple of times too. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, when you played, that wasn't a thing, was it?
No. Never said that in my life. We said champions when we won it, right? But we were holding the trophy at the time, and we were the champions of CONCACAF. So, but never the kings of CONCACAF.
It's alliteration. People love alliteration, But I tell you, if I went to a king's, if a king invited me to their place and it was a 1-bedroom apartment, and I'd be like, "Where's your scepter? Where's your crown?" They're like, "Oh, we don't have it." I'd be a little disappointed. Just saying.
So yeah, are you a king without a crown, or a scepter, or a Gold Cup? No.
Yeah.
I don't think you are. That's a good point. That's a good point. I said that's sorry, done that one already. Here we go. Here's one for you. Okay, DJ Knox. From a 4-year World Cup cycle basis, Canada were never kings. And as far as an overall cumulative giant of CONCACAF, it has always been Mexico. The only notable achievement is that since the 94 World Cup, the US has been kings more than Mexico has, again on a 4-year cycle basis. Therefore, the US is closing in on Mexico for that Giants title. Separate from kings and giants, I do believe Canada is potentially the best team in CONCACAF for 2026, but they need to put it together much better than they have been doing. Okay, so are we? Thanks for that, DJ Knox. That's good. I enjoyed that. Are we prepared to say that the title of Giants of CONCACAF is up for grabs? If we're like retiring the term Kings of CONCACAF, are we prepared to say, okay, right now Mexico's the Giants of CONCACAF, but in a year from now, Canada could be a giant of CONCACAF? Do you know what I mean?
Look, Mexico, yes, they are the Giants of CONCACAF, whether you like it or not. I mean, whether 10 Gold Cups now, the amount of times they've been to a World Cup, they continue to produce players, they continue to win. They are the Giants. Now, for us to be Giants, I mean, you can't just win, tournament, one tournament, and all of a sudden say we're Giants now. I think in order to be Giants, you have to win numerous tournaments.
Okay.
Like if you look at world football, would you say, Liverpool are Giants?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? You would say Real Madrid are Giants. Barcelona, maybe AC Milan, their history, what they've won. I mean, that makes you a giant, doesn't it?
Yeah.
You can't win one tournament.
It's cumulative. Like DJ Knox said, it's cumulative. Become a giant. You can't become a giant overnight.
Buying a pair of platform shoes does not necessarily make you a giant.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah, because they come up at night. And you're no longer a giant.
That's right.
Yeah, I like that. Now, so Canada's a long way off from being a giant, no matter what happens the next year or so. They could be a king of CONCACAF, but not a giant.
They could be a champion of CONCACAF.
Okay. Yeah. So we got the grading. You got your giant up top. That's your Champions League level. You got your giant, right? You've won it a number of times, and then you got this kind of this controversial king, but below there is a champion. It's like saying what's a dynasty in professional sports? Is it 1? Is it 2? I think it's probably 3 on the hop. That becomes a dynasty, not 2. I wouldn't call the Florida Panthers a dynasty just yet. For example, they're damn close. They win this year, and they probably will. They're a dynasty. 3 is the number for me. So to become a giant, what's the number?
A lot, Sharms. A lot. You need to win a lot to be a giant.
More than 3.
I think like the Kings of CONCACAF kind of makes me laugh a little bit. It's like European qualifying for the World Cup. If you win your group, but you have more points than everybody else in qualifying for a World Cup, are you the king of Europe?
Let me just look at England's total from the last qualifying campaign.
But if you win the European Cup, you are the champions of Europe.
But are you a giant? Only if you've won it a number of times. Like Spain. Spain's a giant. France is a giant.
Yeah.
Would you call England a giant?
No.
Internationally? No. Only one World Cup.
Yeah.
One World Cup. Not a giant.
No.
This is really depressing now. Now it's getting depressing.
Yeah.
Aranakana, I totally disagree with the sentiment that Canada wouldn't have competed in the final against Mexico. Both of those teams struggled in their previous matches. Canada destroyed Honduras 6-0 and Mexico only beat them 1-0. We outplayed Guatemala in the first half of our match with them and led 1-0 and have no doubt that we would have won by 2 or 3 goal margin had Schafferberg not gotten the red card. The US team were lucky to beat Guatemala as they were outplayed in the second half. All right, I get your point there, J.R. Canuck. I do. But it's a lot of would have, could have, should have there, isn't there? And as far as you can tell me this, Jimmy, you've played in these tournaments. Judging a team from its first early results in a tournament to its last results is kind of unfair because teams grow into tournaments. That's the whole point.
Of course they do.
At the right time.
Look at Argentina in the World Cup. when they won it. Didn't they lose to Saudi Arabia first match?
Yeah.
It happens. Mexico is undefeated in the last 8 competitive matches. Good teams find a way to win. We can always say, oh, we could have beat Guatemala if we had 11, or we could have done this. Well, we didn't. Mexico did. Mexico won. They're a good team. They find a way to win.
So you don't think that Canada, a full strength Canada, well, say full strength at the Gold Cup, obviously without Eustachio, without Fonzie, you still don't think they would have laid a glove on Mexico in the final?
I think it would have been competitive for sure. For sure. And again, look, it's a final. You never know what's going to happen. But watching that Mexican team, just the players that they have, the form that they're in right now, I think it would have been very difficult for this Canadian team to beat them at the moment.
Do you think it's important to acknowledge that we can get carried away at times as fans, and that's okay? Like with Canada, for example, it's a good team, but
Sharms,
maybe not at that point.
I don't mind that, because it shows a passion, it shows that people care, it shows that people are getting behind this team, this Canadian national team, and the people are supporting it. Now our expectations are getting higher now because we know the team that we have, the squad that we have. We've got valuable experience with playing in a World Cup, in a Copa America, in a Nations League, and now a Gold Cup. But now people are expecting this team to win trophies. And so there is pressure on it. There is expectations. There is people that are passionate about this country and this team, and they want success now. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's brilliant, because probably 10 years ago, people wouldn't even be talking about it. But now the players and everybody involved have to perform.
But is it too soon to be expecting trophies? Are we still a little bit away from that, given that Mexico's on the rise again? Maybe the States are. There was that little window there where, man, yeah, Mexico was terrible. States was in disarray. Canada was on the... You understand why we get carried away. But is it a little unfair to expect trophies right now? It's a young team, right? We shouldn't forget that. It's a pretty young team.
No, I think they should have won the Gold Cup. I would have liked it. I mean, look, that was my expectation.
Before the tournament, it was, right? But that's before you saw Mexico and how they've grown.
And then we watched them beat Honduras. And then after that, it was kind of like, okay, well, what's happening here? Are we in a little bit of trouble? And then Mexico continued to grow and continue to win. And then they end up winning the Gold Cup. But yeah, my expectations were going into this. Yeah, this is our time to win it. 100%.
I thought the same thing, but then reality hits you pretty swiftly when you see the steps Mexico take, and then you remember the inconsistency of this Canadian team.
Yeah,
they are quite inconsistent, and we saw that in this tournament. Honduras was fantastic. Curacao was bang average, poor. El Salvador wasn't football, but regardless, it wasn't a great game, from Canada's standpoint, despite the tactics endured by El Salvador. And then Guatemala, okay, yeah, really, really good 40 minutes. But then that's football. You lose a man, it's football. Sorry, you can't say, well, if he hadn't been sent off, we would have won that game. Well, he did get sent off. We'll never know.
That's part of the game.
Right.
It's part of the game. And you got to deal with it, and you got to figure it out tactically how you're going to win that game and see it out.
Right. So here's one, actually. This is interesting. This is from El Nino's son. If you notice the trend starting at the Canadian Shield, they play good against Ukraine, then bad against Ivory Coast, then good against Honduras, then bad against Curacao, then good against El Salvador, kind of, then bad against Guatemala. Almost every game they had big roster changes. Hopefully, we are done giving guys tests before the World Cup and find a consistent starting 11 moving forward. Also, goalie has to be Max until he proves otherwise. Dane Sinclair, I don't care about how he does on a crappy MLS team. He's been nothing solid for Canada. So, yeah, that's talking about the inconsistencies of this team again. But part of that can be explained by the rotation by Jesse Marsch. We know we've got games coming up this fall, late summer. They're friendlies, but that's all Canada has. If you're Jesse Marsch, are you at that point trying to get your 11 solidified, or is it still time for experimentation, given that there's going to be a slew of games before the World Cup next year?
Yeah, what do they have? Three matches that are coming up?
It's 4 now, isn't it? Is it 4 now? Because they added Australia, right?
So
I'll have a look.
4.
I'll have a look anyway. 1 second. Anyway, it's 3 or 4. What is it? So what would you be doing?
Well, I think you've slowly got to start finding your 11 going into this World Cup. You have to. I mean, you've seen these players an awful lot. You know what you've got. And again, Sharms, like I said, it's going to be who's in form and who's playing week in and week out. It's going to dictate who's going to be your starting 11 going into the World Cup. It's still a little bit early now, but I'm sure Jesse Marsh and his staff know who his best 11 are. You'd hope so.
Do you think so now? Even in that they know who their midfield pairing is going to be at this point?
You'd like to think so. You think you've got an idea of who your best 11 would be. I mean, if you don't know your squad by now, you're in trouble.
Right. So you I'm sure they know what the best 11 is right now if there's a game tomorrow, if everyone's healthy. Yeah. But do you think they know what it's going to be next June? Or are there still some
No, but that's what I'm saying. It's you can pick your best 11 right now, but it means nothing. You've still got less than a year to figure out, and things happen. Maybe Kone goes on a run and all of a sudden he's been spectacular. Yeah. Maybe Saliba's not playing, he's not doing well, and who knows? You don't know what's going to happen within a year. But what you do have to make sure is that your squad that you're taking are all in form and all ready to go. You can't have any passengers when you get to a World Cup.
So it's 4 matches.
Yeah.
It's 4 matches. Romania, September the 5th. Then it's Wales 4 days later. Then Australia in October, followed by Colombia, October the 14th. So 4 games. So I understand what you're saying there, that the 11 now might not be the 11 in June. But do you start picking your best 11 now for these games, or is there still time to play around with some, wholesale rotation in these windows?
Well, I imagine, guys on the cusp that you think could be in the squad, you're probably going to give them some opportunities and give some games. But ideally, if I'm him, I'm starting to try to really focus in on my 11. Really starting to try to get my pairings all over the park. Get a good pairing down the left side, a good pairing down the right side. The more games that they start playing together, consistent, you hope that gets them ready for that opening match in the World Cup. Look, I'm believing, like, with the chopping and changing, sometimes it's too much. I was always a player that I wanted to play every game, because if you rested me, I felt it took me out of my rhythm. And I liked it when it was play, rest, play, rest, play, rest. And then it helped me focus. But if you played me one game and then said, next game, I'm not playing you, I didn't like that, because I wanted to get into a rhythm. I wanted momentum when I was in tournaments, with Gold Cup or qualification. I wanted to play every single match. Mm-hmm. But every manager's different, right? Everybody's got their own ideas. You have to respect it.
I guess thankfully there weren't too many guys involved in the Club World Cup, right? So as such, say rested, they played the Gold Cup, right? But there's been some time off for these guys. A couple more to get to here, comments. I enjoy this one. P21-G21. Stick to hockey. You are the best at it. Yes, we are. We are the best at it. But at the same time, I think we're allowed to try the sports, aren't we? Give them a whirl.
Are we the best at it?
Well, we won the 4 Nations. That's the most recent example of international hockey suggests that we are.
Except our Canadian teams can't win a Stanley Cup.
Well, there is that. That's a valid point. But how many Canadians played on those teams?
Yeah,
right. Right. So to hell with you. We're allowed to try the sports. And this is a nice one from Luis Lacona, a Mexico fan here. Thank you for your kind words about the fans and the team. We love this sport, and I hope someday Canadians will love it just as much. That said, I have no doubt that Canadian fans will show up when it matters most in 2026. It is the World Cup after all. Thank you. That's a nice one to end on, isn't it? We're getting there.
That was nice.
It's a battle. There's challenges, but we're getting there. We're trying our best to make this sport relevant in this country, and I think next year will really help. And I believe too that the Canadian fans will come out in numbers to support, and a bunch of them will be new fans as well. They're relying on all us old campaigners. We might be in trouble, because although we're loud, there aren't many of us, unfortunately. But by that point, whole bunch of new fans. I would hope, that's for sure. So yeah, thank you for our comments today. I enjoy these shows. You know, it's a short one today. We got the Club World Cup micropod coming up very shortly. By the way, DAZN is the place to watch all your matches from the Club World Cup. One more semi-final. That's today. Real Madrid, PSG, and the winner will play Chelsea. And we'll talk about the Chelsea Fluminense game in that podcast. So log in, get the app, and watch the Club World Cup for free on DAZN. That's about it, fellas. Anything else you want to touch on, or are we good?
No, we were good.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
JC, we're good? I think so. A nice
think we're
tight
good.
20 minutes.
Tight.
Yeah.
Tiger
Tight, as
Tight,
Johnny would say. Yes, tiger tight. All right, everyone. Thanks so much. Keep sending us your comments. We do enjoy these shows. Subscribe and like. That really helps as well. And we'll chat to you very, very soon. Cheers for listening and watching. Bye-bye.
Keep your stick on the ice, eh?